I think the most important thing is you have to be a good listener, and you have to know when you don't know what you're talking about. Because when you don't know what you're talking about on any given topic, and if you're comfortable doing it, you should be able to reach out to people online and have them inform you or help you figure things out. As Dan Gilmore likes to say, the public will always know more on any given news story than I ever will, just because of their collective knowledge. And so, if you respect that fact and you and respect the people that you're interacting with online, and don't try to separate them as you being some host on television or a reporter on the radio or a print reporter who doesn't interact directly with the public. I don't think those days can really exist anymore. You have to engage people. And so it's not about having a specific skill set regarding certain tools or anything like that. But if you're comfortable being online, you've got a good nose for a story to sniff it out. It's mainly just a matter of developing a rapport with the people you can interact with online, and respecting them as much as you would respect anyone you know in person. Because if you do your job well, they'll have your back on it. I'm not a community manager. I am part of a community, and I, in some ways, host a community. But that doesn't make me a community manager, because I think that implies I'm dealing with them in a transactional way sometimes, and it's my job to manage the tools and keep the trains running on time, whereas I just want to be able to talk to people when stuff is going on somewhere. And I see those as two very different tasks. I see myself concentrating on what are the stories I'm trying to capture, not managing a community per se. We spend a lot of time wasting time about news media versus bloggers, or news media versus citizen media. When a person has something that's of journalistic value, the news business is going to value it as well. And when people are posting things that aren't of value, we won't value it. It's a lot of people who engage as citizen journalists, for lack of a better term, they're conducting random acts of journalism. They're in the right place at the right time. There are only so many people who are passionate about it and devote hours to covering some story in their community. It's wonderful when they can, but most people don't do that. So, like the photos that came out of when the U.S. Airways plane went down on the Hudson River, that wasn't some citizen journalist hanging out on the Hudson River waiting for a story. That was people who happened to be in the right place at the right time, who captured what was going on and could tell in a clear, concise way what they were experiencing. And so, in some ways, those people are acting as sources for news organizations rather than citizen journalists per se. But at the same time, some people realize that they have a community or an audience as well through social media, so they start doing their own form of anchor coverage of whatever event they happen to be seeing. So I think if you ignore the public at your peril, I don't think a news organization can afford to completely wall itself off from the public's knowledge, experience, and eyewitness actions. But they've never really done that. The news organizations have always relied on eyewitnesses, and have always asked the public to help send in information, everything from doing weather spotting, or sending in letters to the editor, or recipes, or consumer complaints. As you know, since the very beginning of newspapers in the United States, the members of the public have made contributions to them. What's different is that today is that the public doesn't have to make contributions to news organizations in order to be heard. They can completely go around that process and circumvent it and post it online. And so the question news organizations now have is, are we able to deal with that? And if you can't deal with that, well, maybe you should be thinking about doing something else for a career. And if you are willing to deal with that, make it as constructive and as productive as possible, rather than harping on these people being untrained journalists. Because if a person has the right photo or the right bit of information at the right time, your competitors aren't going to be griping over whether or not they're a professional journalist. They're going to be more concerned about the fact that they're an eyewitness who captured something that no one else did.